Doll's always number one. That's some funky music this morning. Hey, great. Welcome, welcome. All right, let's jump right in. Ooh, I need to turn off the. There we go. Got to turn the speakers off. Otherwise, we're going to get some reverb. Sorry about that. Well, welcome. It's, what is it? The 18th, Tuesday the 18th. And there's a bunch of red and stuff on my watch list. What the heck is this? I thought it was only green from here on out. This is BS. But that's okay. That's fine. We'll still keep selling options because that's what we do. And you know what? I think there's probably some opportunities for us here, so that's fine by me anyway. I've got some stuff that I got out of recently, freed up. I think we were talking about it yesterday. Freed up some cash money. Yep, got I think 30%. I ended up at, or just under 30%, something like that of cash. And I think a lot of people were like, "Why?" And it's because we just don't know. We don't know what's going to happen here, and I don't trust that we're like out of the woods and going to actually stay at these all-time highs that we've been bumping up against for months now. So yeah, let's take a look. Like SPY, let's start with the indices today. Take a look at things like SPY, which yeah, we got some all-time highs, but maybe we need to take a little break. Good morning, Tony Royal. Welcome in, welcome in. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm a little wary of right now. We popped out. I'm still hoping that this happens, right? Like that seems. Let me undo that. That seems uh, plausible for sure. We could just be back testing here a little bit, but I don't know. With the whole Iran situation being unresolved and continue to escalate on the Iran side, if not on our side, the U.S. side, I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go. So with that in mind, I'm like, well, let's just take a step back. And I'm also like not in a rush in deploying everything today either, because I'm not sure we're gonna have 1 or 2 days of red and that's it. It could be a little back test. We could back test to the 50, and that would be like totally fine. That would still be pretty much all-time highs for everything else. What's going on, BJ? Taco Tuesday. Who doesn't like Taco Tuesday? I'll tell you who doesn't like Taco Tuesday. Anyone who does Taco Tuesday every day of the week, inevitably after like a month of that, you're like, you know what? I don't know if I need tacos every single Tuesday. maybe a Taco Tuesday a month is a better approach to life, and that's where we found ourselves. Although my kids didn't get sick of it, but like my wife and I were like, yeah, that's a lot of tacos. Maybe let's take a break on those for a month. Highly recommended that you take a break every once in a while. Anyway, QQQ on the other hand is doing this like inverted head and shoulders thing going on here. I don't know. I mean, maybe, right? This could definitely be here. Let's get rid of this line for a second. That's just the all-time high line. So we could always redraw that pretty easily. But like, what if we drew a line like this? I mean, I don't know. Is there an inverted head and shoulders here? Maybe. We'll see if we bounce off, drop down, and have another shoulder. I don't know. It's not the cleanest one I've ever seen in my life. That if you're wondering what I see, I'm looking at like this. Very ugly, right? I don't know, something like this. So if we did bounce off, right, this would be a normal test to the 100. Honestly, like that would be totally normal here if this were to happen. Uh, that would be scary though, for sure. I don't see this as like, hey, we're going to invert it and then reject hard down to the 200, although it's possible. In fact, this would be scary because the drop would be quite large. That would be somewhere, yeah, it'd be around the 200, somewhere down here at 650. Oh, that's clean. Look at that. That's gross how clean that is. I don't know. I'm not sure that's going to happen. I don't want to cause any fear or anything like that. The point is that I'm not confident that we're just going to run up. So it seemed like a good idea to kind of rotate back into cash a little bit as some of my positions are going back to all-time highs. And I don't really need or want that full position necessarily anymore. My thoughts have changed on some of these things. So just some thoughts that are kind of coming out of my head at this moment. We're down over 1% on QQQ to start. So that's a lot. That's a big number. That's big for an index like that. And we could see that, well, let's look at IWM. IWM is also down a little bit, but this is like a complete non-issue considering that it's still basically at all-time highs, even at, down 0.4%. Anything over 300 is fantastic for it. In fact, if we were to bounce off 300 and sustain this, that would be really nice long-term support. So yeah, it doesn't seem that scary to me looking at IWM at a glance. Bitcoin continuing to do sideways Bitcoin trading things. Nothing has happened there of interest. And VIX is continuing to go up a little bit. It looks like we've dropped a little bit as of this morning, so that's great, I guess. And oil is had spiked up a little bit as well. And so I know there's a lot of like the 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 rhetoric, the story, which I don't know, whatever the right word is there. The market story right now is that energy crisis, energy concerns are pretty big. Gold continuing to struggle to break and hold above the 100 SMA. And that's kind of all the big things that we like to look at, right? So a couple of the smaller indices here, things like the semiconductors, looks like they're obviously in QQQ. They're going to get hit pretty hard here. Space is down the amount that they were up, so that's a little sad because I was enjoying that. And WIGME doing about the same here. I was hoping we'd see the cup and handle breakout, but maybe not yet. Maybe not yet. Good morning, Green Cheese and Foregunner. Welcome in, welcome in. So a lot of messy things, but at the same time, I'm like, it's Tuesday. So this is just another Tuesday. And after a pretty good week, honestly, across the board, a little blow off isn't too bad, right? I mean, I think it's totally fine here. Looking at the space ETF, this is a pretty solid run. I mean, in the last couple of weeks, it's up 32%. That's pretty solid. Obviously, it's down a lot from a couple weeks prior, 32%. So we haven't like fully made it back up or anything. But I would say that this feels like a good time to take a little bit of a consolidation breather and see where it goes from here. It is interesting, though, how much volume there was back here on the space ETF, and then how it's kind of really dropped off here. I wonder what that's about. Volume is under a million, whereas up here we were in the 25, 35 million range. Very interesting. There was a huge spike of interest and then a huge fear of what was going down. So people hopped out of that right quick. You're going to Slingshot Clar. That's Klarna, right? Coyote put spreads. Dude, I don't even know what those words mean. Are you just like ChatGPTing interesting ways to call trades? Good earnings and down 18%. I thought their earnings were not till, is it today or tomorrow? Uh are we looking at a different stock than I am right now? Oh wow, they did have earnings this morning. Look at that. I didn't see the pre-market. That is down 19%. Wow. What happened? What'd you do? Looks like strong revenue and margin growth with positive net income and raised margin guidance. They beat revenue by 120% or by EPS, I should say, and they beat revenue by 4.5%. That's pretty solid. That's pretty solid. Now, I did say yesterday that Klarna could be an indicator into the overall consumer and the spending habits of a consumer and the strength of the consumer spend. So, what did I miss here? What happened? This is it's a pretty wild story. We can take a quick look at the summary here. So, gross margin variance. What is GMV? I'm not sure. 36 billion, up 18%. Um, Revenue grew 27% year over year. That seems pretty good. Transaction margin dollars rose 42%. That seems pretty good. Uh, what are we down? What's the negative? Is there a negative? 2 million paying subscribers up 8x year over year. Holy cow. Sub revenue up 600%. That's insane. Klarna card active users grew to 6.5 million from 1 point. Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah, this is like ridiculous. Revenue guidance is set to 4 billion, reflecting volume adjustments. Interesting. Full year. Oh, so did we need to look at this? No. So what's the negative? Am I missing something here? JP Morgan payments integration enables all merchants to offer Klarna's payment suite. That's huge. Klarna and Apple launched US upgrade program. Huge. New membership plans launched. Good. 90% of funding is in low cost consumer deposits. Okay, like yeah, that's the business. Interesting. So what's the negative? Affirm is a Klarna. Yes. How did Affirm do? Are they also down based on that? Look at that. They're down too, but they don't have earnings. So there's something about like the results that the market is disliking greatly. I wonder what it is though. Is there any news here? Go back to Clar here for a second. I might be interested in taking a position here as well. I mean, this is ridiculous. The business is what is the monthly chart is just not that long. Let's look at the weekly. I mean, classic IPO for sure, right? Down. This is fine being down 80% from IPO. That's totally normal, unfortunately. 7 billion market cap. EPS is still negative, but I don't get it. I'm not sure what I'm missing here. Debts are going up. Yeah, but debts of what? Okay, I'll take a look. Will to the feet, welcome in. We're looking at Klarna here, trying to figure out why what looked like smashing earnings has got the stock down a huge percent here of almost 20%, 18, 19%. I might need to buy a little bit of this pre-market consumer debts. Yeah, but like that's kind of what they make money off of, isn't it? That to me, that was what I was talking about as an indicator for the greater market from Klarna. But you wouldn't think that that would affect their business. If anything, that's great for their business. It's like payday loan places being upset about a payday loan place or an investor in one and be like, but people are needing to borrow more money. This can't be good. And it's like, yeah, but we're payday loans. This is how this works. This is how we make money. So it's almost like they're punishing the wrong group. And I have to agree that this looks like it could be an interesting buying opportunity. It's also sitting at like an interesting zone here. Let's take a quick look at what exactly this is. We've got the bottom of this last gap. Look at this. The exact thing on the dollar, on the penny, maybe 1590. What do we open at here? 1590 was the high. We were just at a second ago, the exact bottom of this gap. So we're going to draw a little line here so you can see what I'm talking about. See this purple square? That's a gap. That's our air pocket indicator doing its job right there. And that is like there's memory in the market as it pertains to gaps, in my experience, from what I've seen. And these gaps tend to be support and resistance in the future. So you can see resistance here again, here and here. But then it flipped to support, right? We bounced off it, and then up we went, and we forgot all about it for a little while. Even though the top of the gap was also resistance a few times, and then became support. So like these levels seem to have memory in the market longer term. You can see it right here: resistance, support, and resistance and support, blah blah blah. You get the idea, right? So now we're down here all of a sudden, even below it. Below it is an issue because below it means that we might drop some more before making our way back up, or Well, it depends how we open. We've got time. We've got 45 minutes before we even know how it's going to open. But definitely seems like a potential entry for a really strong performing finance stock, with the ultimate downside being somewhere around here at 1262. So, you might, if you're interested in this type of business, a way to enter would be, not financial advice, would be to either CSP. You could CSP aggressively at 15 or 16. Let's take a look at the option chain. Actually, we're not going to get the same values here that we had, because this is pre-earnings, post-earnings numbers, obviously. But what's interesting about volatility, if you are following in earnings, in particular earnings, there can be increased volatility on big drops. So, which, by the way, look at this. They were already down 6% going into earnings. Again, I don't really understand that. But anyway, you could look at the money was selling for a buck 50 for 19.5, which protected you down to 18, which honestly isn't all that far off the 15 and change that we're at right now. So if you were to maybe put a limit sell for a buck 50 on a $15 put, it could fill. If we were to like touch down to 13.5 or something, wick down, wick up, whatever, you get the idea. You might be able to hit some pretty crazy ROCs here. Or you can just buy some shares. Like I may buy some shares pre-market. like 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 50. Not a huge, well, not a huge percent of the portfolio or anything like that. And then you could DCA down, if we were to drop all the way to say 12, or even if we broke down further, right? Like that's how you want to think about this. Is this There's no telling how low. Like there's no when we're below all of the EMAs and SMAs. There's no rules that tell you where things have to go. You can use fibs, of course, right? Like that's a potential, but we don't really know how far things are going to drop ultimately. That said, let's take a look at the fibs. I'm kind of curious what they're saying here right now, and we're right in the middle of the 1618 and the one. So there's a good potential that we drop all the way down to this 1450 range, but then below there, it just seems unlikely that we're going to dip too much further. Famous last words, certainly could happen. But wow, they're down. They're approaching 20% down. Yeah, put 20% down on yourselves, Klarna. Maybe you could pay it back over time. Yeah. So I look at this as a potential opportunity. And Green Cheese, thank you for sharing that one. Good morning, Sice. Sice. So, should I call you Q5V? You prefer Sice? I don't know. But yeah, this is an interesting potential for sure. I am surprised. I would bet we're going to hit 1550. And if we break below that, I don't know why we don't go all the way down to, this little gap here next. Might find support there. So a bunch of stuff to consider. Bunch of stuff to consider. That's fascinating though. Again, the earnings really good. Really good. So you know what? Let's add that to the watch list for now so I don't forget about it. That'll stick out like a sore thumb on the oh, it was just there on the watch list at minus 20%. And you know what? Like they were cranking back up to the 200 SMA. They were looking pretty good. I'm sure there's a lot of investors who are very upset right now, being down what is 25% from recent highs. Yikes! Yikers! Don't like it one bit. But let's see if there's some more positive stuff to look at. Why is this not sorting for me? What are you doing, TradingView? There we go. But yeah, not a lot of green in the market. I will point out that Reddit is somehow opening green. That's kind of interesting. I did sell some puts, by the way, for 165. So I do want to make sure I've got that on here. Sold these yesterday for 450. $4.50. Bob Dog got a better price. He got $5. He was a little more patient than me, I suppose. But I was very happy with 450. That essentially protects me down to 160 if we get assigned shares. And that seems really good because I sold them at 165. So I'm real happy with that. And I sold 4 contracts at this 165. So I actually have only sold one contract at 165. Now, if we continue to drop, I will most definitely sell some more. But otherwise, I'm actually not going to enter more in that position yet, as we just kind of wait to see how things develop. Because if we do have a lot of red here, like Klarna as an example, I want to take advantage of opportunities. Again, that's why I moved to 30% cash this past couple of weeks, and highly recommend if you're cash to not jump all in on one big negative number. Green cheese, careful with Klarna, don't go all in. Anyway, positive EPS and expecting a loss. Yeah, that's insane, dude. That's pretty wild. You sold someone Reddit at 145. First off, hello, Real Madrid Kaka. Number two, the second thing I was going to say is there's nothing wrong with 145 though. That was depending on, especially like, did you wait all day to sell it? I bet you got a great price for it. It was really nice pricing as the day progressed, and I was real happy that, like, if you looked at the hourly on Reddit, it was misleading as it tends to be, right? As all stock charts tend to be, where we kept going back up. So we had a big drop, came back up, big drop, came back up. Look at that. Look at the wick. Look at the wick. Back to 170 and change, big drop. And that's when I sold the 165. We were right at 165 when I sold it. I think we were at like 165.07. That looks very exactly where it was. But we had dropped all the way down to 162 and change, which is why Bob Dog got that amazing fill. Actually, that means he probably could have got even. We probably could have got like $6 on it at one point. And again, if we have the opportunity to get it at 160 for the same price, I'm gonna do that. And then I'm gonna do the same thing at one. Whoops! Whoa! That's funny. So if you copy and paste text, it goes into text. It's good to know on TradingView. Good thing I didn't put like passwords that I copy and pasted. It was just my stream advertisement to the Discord. But anyway, back on topic. I plan to ladder this, right? So we could do a 160p, right? Something like this, a 155p, and then ultimately a 150p. That would be all four of the possible options that I'd be willing to sell on Reddit. I mean, honestly, maybe I would keep going. Maybe I would keep going. But back to what you were saying at 145, well, that doesn't look too attractive here, but maybe when we drop down to 162, you got a good price. Got $100. 828, 828. You went out a couple of weeks. Yeah, that's fine, man. I mean, look, that's cool. That looks good. And if you got it at 145, that's an insane price, like a good price to get. If we look at the chart back on the daily here, let's get out of this hourly BS. Why did I go out so far on these? These would only ever go this far. But yeah, if you were to look at the chart on this and check out 145, where does that put us? Like, that is at the end of the week. We're really close to this secondary channel, right? The mega channel, as I like to call it. The thing is, I don't really see us dropping below 150 again. Again, famous last words, but it seems unlikely. Now, it could drop all the way to like 140. Honestly, like that's the bottom. But if you got in at 145 on a stock that bottomed at 140, and really your cost basis at that is 144 because you got paid $1 for it, that seems pretty good to me. Look how much crap I sell on Reddit, by the way. It's just text everywhere. And it doesn't like I didn't start doing this until somewhat recently. This goes back forever. Maybe I should do that one day. Just trace back all of the options I've sold on this thing. I added it up yesterday. It's over 200K on Reddit just from selling options. That's insane. Anyway, these haven't happened yet, so we're going to ignore those. And let's turn off auto fib, since that's going to just make me go nuts staring at those. But yeah, Reddit's a messy chart. The S&P inclusion was a nice gap up. The drop back was honestly not all that surprising to close the gap. Reddit is another stock that tends to close all of its gaps. Big gaps closed, big gap closed. Gaps down here, the mega gap that nobody thought would ever close, fully closed. So like this is amazing, right? Like this, doesn't it feel like this should never have happened? If you look at the where the stock has gone from here, it seems like there was no need for us to ever go all the way back down to 80. But we did. But we did. And with that, it tells me that closing this gap that we just made is inevitable anyway. So, you know what? If you ask me, this is fantastic because I got shares called away at 165 and I just get to get them back at 165 or better. That's an amazing deal. Good morning, Xenos. It was a limit order that hit at the very end of the day. Yeah, there was a lot of those. I think that's what Bob Dogs was. What do I think of Monster since it just split? Let's take a look. MNST. Monster Energy, they are. What was the stock price? Wasn't it over like 1,000 or something? What was the split? 2-to-1. I guess it was 90 if it was a 2-to-1 split. Well, what do I think of it? I don't think anything about splits personally. So the only real consideration I would give splits is, hold on one sec. I thought I was going to sneeze, but it passed immediately. We're good. The only thing that splits mean to me, so reverse splits tend to mean death spiral, right? Avoiding delisting. So they're generally never good. But a regular split has no real consequence outside of improving accessibility to more traders because it's a cheaper stock. So you can buy options on it for half price, right? Or sell options on it for half price because the share costs half. It's very simple, right? So from that perspective, that could improve some amount of liquidity in or volume, I should say, of the stock. Which, by the way, from their lows, let's see, it 1.5 million%. Not bad, not bad. I mean, I've seen better. No, I haven't. I think that might be the best performing stock ever. Although AutoZone is ridiculous if you ever look at that chart. But yeah, so like when I look at Monster, I think of this chart as in terms of channels. I don't think of it in terms of the split meaning having any real meaning here. And you could see the stages that this chart went through. Like you can literally draw out descending channel. Let's do blue. Blue is so much nicer to look at. Descending channel, right? Pretty clean. I mean, I can copy and paste this line actually perfectly. Whatever, something like that. And then we sideways traded descending channel again, although it was after a nice little bump out. And then obviously the parabolic run in, what was this, the 90s? No, early 2000s. Okay, all right. And then consolidation again for a couple of years, and then parabolic run again, and then consolidation again, right? Like this is the cleanest chart in terms of story that I think I've ever seen in my life. And now where are we? Well, if we were to, let's turn off the control line here for a minute. I like the control line, but not for what we're looking at. If we were looking at this now, you can see that we're once again kind of like breaking out of a channel. And that channel was serving us beverages for the last, 10 years, really. That's a long channel. And it looks like we've finally kind of broken out above there, which is a good sign for Monster. But here's the real test. And it's not got anything to do with the split. All that really matters is, do we stay above this line here? Real simply. We'll move this a little bit. So it's just further out. So if we this is on the monthly, if next month and the month after we can stay above 45 where we're at right now, then things look great. It looks good. I think it's a new channel of some sort. Is it going to go parabolic again? I don't know. Maybe we work our way up to 80 because that's kind of what, like, if we just copy and pasted what happened here, right where we broke out to this new point. I assume that would take us to like 80. I don't know. Yeah, 80. Oh, look at that. Pretty on the money. So like that's the potential. I don't personally use the product. It seems popular, especially in the Midwest. I've seen in running factories and stuff, it was very common to see Monster drinks everywhere at all the different workstations, which I found fascinating because I'm like, it's just, dude, there's just too much caffeine. Your heart's gonna explode. I could barely have a cup of coffee and my heart's gonna explode. So that's kind of my take on Monster. Let's see. You wanted to ask about Pattern. Is Pattern going to the cloud? I'm assuming you're talking on the daily. So I don't even have the cloud on here right now, but it's one of my favorites. So we can just add the Super Ichi. Are you talking on a different time frame? I only see. Do you mean going back up to the cloud? I thought for some reason I thought you meant bouncing off the cloud. Or the 100. I do think, yeah, I think it's very likely that we hit the 100 SMA on Pattern. And like, I don't know. To me, Pattern is an easy long-term hold. It's a new business. Their earnings have been exclusively crushing towards the upside. So there's just it's going to take some time for adoption. They're starting to get pulled into bigger names, bigger deals. This is early. If we drop to the 100, I am probably buying more shares. I currently have 2,500 shares, which was a real nice deal up here. I thought about, do I sell the shares here at 30, which I don't think we actually even hit 30. We hit 29.80. So like a limit sell never would have went through anyway. But at the same point, I was like, this is kind of more of a long-term port hold where I'm not buying and selling constantly. So I just leave it. And if anything, if we drop, I plan to accumulate. Because as soon as I sold it, it would have been just as likely, seemingly, that it would have kept going up. So I had no interest in getting out of the position, and that's kind of how I make a decision often on, is it time to sell a long-term holding or not? And the fact is, you can't have owned this for a long-term holding yet. It's only been out for a year, right? September 2025. It's not even September 2026. So this is like just a set it and forget it, patience, accumulate when opportunities present themselves. And that's probably what I'll do on it. Let's see. Liking Reddit, so definitely a quality name. Heck yeah, man. Dubcox, welcome, welcome. Yeah, you like that, dude. I know Reddit like the back of my hand. Maybe better. Probably better. I've been staring at the chart more than the back of my hand for sure. I don't quite understand that phrase. How often do people stare at the back of their hands anyway? You have 250s expiring December. Should have dumped. Oh man, calls. I assume bought calls. Dubcox. Look, here's the thing. Reddit is just as likely to close this gap and bounce to the upside. Not financial advice. I would hate for you to like lose money on hopium copium from me. But I do think that it's likely that we bounce back up. I have a ton of uncovered shares at this moment that I'm not covering right now because this is likely a bounce that is canceled out within the week. All right, let's get rid of this arrow. I believe that arrow is going to happen, but it's just enough drawing material on this chart. So here's the deal. I believe, for one, yesterday, yesterday. Oh, let me get rid of the Super Itchy, which is driving me nuts here. We talked about this in the Discord, and do you know what we said it was going to hit? Probably today. As soon as the gap started closing, we proposed, hypothesized that it would hit a certain line. What line can you imagine that being? I'll give you a hint. It's the 100 SMA. That was a pretty good hint, don't you think? And what did we hit? So yesterday the low was 160, 164.18. Do you know what the 100 SMA is? It says it on my screen. Can you see? Can you see? It's like my finger disappears, but you get it. It's 164.10. We're within 8 cents of the 100 SMA. That's good. That's good support after gapping up over it, which has served as resistance. Okay, this is actually way more exciting, if you ask me, than what it could have been. In fact, it's changing my perspective a little bit, and I may more aggressively sell puts today. One more. Out of four, I've sold one at 165. I was thinking about selling them if we got the opportunity at 155, 150, 160. But now I'm thinking maybe I sell one at 170 because we have seen this as resistance one, two, three, four, five times essentially, right? And it has flipped to official support. That's key. That is the type of thing that we want to see because it is a major EMA, SMA, obviously in this case, and it's a good sign. Now, especially on the fact that look how red things are at open right now. Like there's a lot of red, but not Reddit. Reddit's like, nope, up we go, inverse the market as we do. You know us, you know how we do. So Reddit is up a percent, which is not like any insanely meaningful number, and we could drop. Okay, so give open a few minutes. But if we drop to 164.10 and hold again, and it's up from there. Like I don't want to say guaranteed because nothing's guaranteed, but I think you understand probably by now how I'm talking about it. That I feel quite strongly that that's a highly likely outcome. So that's where my head's at on it. Celsius is the next energy stock to run. Yes, yes. Dude? It is. What do you mean the next two run? It's been running. Tony Royal. Would you agree or disagree with our uh, consensus on this stock over the last couple of weeks? We've talked about it a lot. I feel like it's doing exactly what we said it would do. Would you agree with that? Can I get your Google review? I mean, this seems good so far. Now it's got to keep going. It's early, but man, oh man, that does look like a good start. And we are seeing the bullish pickup here on the daily, which is 3 blue stars is a good starting sign. Now we do need some pickup here on the silver flow. I do want to see that, but overall, like I don't own any Celsius, and part of me is like, maybe I join Tony for a little position here. I don't know. Now, here's the real test. Actually, probably today. Let's see if we can break through the 100. Well, I mean, let's not say today. It's highly probable that we bounce off it a couple of times. So let's say next week. If next week we break through the 100, I feel really good that we're going to make a run to the 200. So, haha, good. I appreciate that. The validation, very nice. Anyway, have I ever looked at Figure? Figure? No, I have looked at Fig. Fig is terrible. The fundamentals are strong and growing very fast. Let's take a look. Hey, Dead Words, welcome in. Bloomberg says Klarna cut full year revenue outlook. Interesting. I thought it said they raised guidance, though. Did they? Oh, they raised margin guidance. Okay, so maybe that's the problem. Maybe they raised full year guidance up, revenue set. So this is it. Okay, this is interesting. I was wondering, this is the only bullet point where they talk. Can I zoom in? I'm sorry. I'm sorry if this is small, especially if you're on your phone. You probably have no chance at reading this. It says revenue guidance set at 4.08 to 4.16 billion, reflecting volume adjustment and accounting changes in fair financing originations. That's very vague. And revenue, but you don't want to be vague as it pertains to revenue because that's what your business does. If you want to make EPS or money or EBIT or operating profit or EBITDA, whatever you measure it by, cash, you need revenue generally, unless you just, I guess, have appreciating assets. But generally you need revenue. And the fact that they didn't say that it was up or down is fascinating. I think you found it, Real Madrid, Caca. I think you found it. Interesting. Okay, well, we're gonna dig more into that though today on the Discord anyway, for sure, because I want to know what the impact was. Is it really a 21% impact when all of their other numbers look amazing? And even if revenue is down slightly, that seems for one counterintuitive because of all their subscriptions and whatnot going up. So there must be some other pieces of the pie that go into that number, right? Take a look at that. All right, Figure. Let's take a look at Figure. Is this Figaro? No. In fact, look at the chart compared to Fig. Way better. Way better than Fig. That extra R does a lot for the stock for sure. I will say this though, like this is still kind of a giant depressing uh descending channel here for the since inception of the stock, which is mildly blech. We had a breakout at one point briefly. This is a big old bull trap, huh? 77% upside. Nope, just kidding. Just kidding. Not even around earnings. Like no earnings to be had here. And then we had earnings that were red and up they went. I wonder if they issued like a statement early here of like, hey, guys, whoa, it's not as good as you think. Maybe they diluted. There's a lot of things that could have happened here. But if you were to ask me, I would not take a position here personally, unless, let's see. This is again, this is the daily chart, by the way. This isn't even like the monthly or anything. So it's only been around since September of last year. So again, less than a year. Basically the same time frame as pattern that we just looked at. I think actually might even be like the same day, close to. So they had earnings what a couple of days ago. Double beat, looks good. They're making money. I like that. I do like that. Thanks for the hearts, whoever gave me all the hearts. But this is like this is a real nice jump up. Tweezer bottom jump up 46%. But I feel like they're going to peter out at the 200, not knowing anything about the stock, only because we've been in this channel now for a year. And after one beat and two misses, is this really enough history for the market to feel confident in the long term for them? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know enough about this company either. And it looks like they're somewhat connected to Klarna in what they do, perhaps. Maybe not. Blockchain native capital marketplace, blah, blah, blah. So, no, doesn't seem much like Klarna. They provide interest bearing stablecoin deposits. What? The guy from The Office founded them? That's amazing. Michael Scott. 2018, and they're headquartered in Reno, which always sounds cool. Such a cool sounding name of a city, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know. I look at this and I say we're on the upper end of the channel. It feels a little worrisome that we might just bounce back off of it. So like I wouldn't personally, unless I was a real big fan of the company, I wouldn't personally take a position here. However, I will say if it's a company you like, there's nothing wrong with it. The financials are generally improving over time. They make money, which is kind of nice. Exclusively, in fact, since they've gone public, they've only ever been profitable. Even on misses, they still made money. So there's a lot to be said for that. And what's their price to earnings? 36. 36 is high with high beta. I would just say be careful here. This all of this tells me like high risk for getting to the top of the channel or even just a 200 SMA and bouncing back down. You can see we tested off the 100 here. We did break through briefly, top of the channel. And then I would worry that we're bouncing off the 200 at this point. So huge $15 buying support. On which one? Green cheese. Klarna? Oh, Klarna. You're talking about Klarna. All right, we'll go back to Klarna. That is currently down 20%. Klarna will finish down 10%, not 20%. You will slingshot this to the moon. Well, I believe in you personally. So, did you already sell credit spread puts? Put credit spreads? And huge $15 buying support. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Like that's the line we drew. Like that's definitely bottom of the gap support. Do I think CoreWeave has more potential for upside short term? Great question. And one that I am interested in because I own some CoreWeave. But I am worried that once they started filling the gap a couple days ago, that they may do the same thing that we're looking at with Reddit, which is backtest off of the 100 SMA, if not fully close the gap. Once we're in it, it's definitely something that can happen. What's funny is I had I have two puts. I didn't even draw the other one, and I sold the other one like way back here on the monthly at 100, and I was sure that these were gone forever. But I mean, this is the funny thing about option selling, isn't it? 100C seemed like, for one, I'm happy if I sold the shares at that price for where I got them on the cost basis. It made a couple percent in selling the call. No, maybe it was 1%. It was on one of these days that I sold it. And now what? They may not even get called away. I mean, I should check. It's in the Vanguard account that I hate. This is why I sell monthlies in Vanguard, because it's such a pain to buy and sell options in Vanguard. Like, it's the worst UI ever. I have a video on it if you want to see just how bad it is. It's somewhere in there on how to sell options in Vanguard. It's gross. I actually look up the options on like Fidelity, and then I'm like, okay, let's go type it into Vanguard. Just type it in. It's way easier that way. But this is ultimately like this is what CoreWeave tends to do. The only okay, so I have one frustration with CoreWeave, only one generally, which is kind of crazy, is that like compared to Nebius, we had this gap up that everybody seemed to have on great earnings, and then Nebius goes up and CoreWeave goes down, and I'm kind of like, what the hell, man? What is this? It genuinely has got me going like, and this is, you got to be careful of short-term thinking and short-term chart patterns like affecting decisions that you make. But it does. I can't help it. It still makes me go like, if these dropped like a rock again, I'm taking all the money from CoreWeave and just putting it into Nebius, because it clearly does better on the news. I'm not sure that's a good idea. Objectively, there's no real reason that seems to make sense to me. It just happens to be a divergence between the two, but it is fascinating to watch. Anyway, do I think CoreWeave has more upside? Yeah, man, for sure. Look at this. Look. So here's the good news. Number one, we're above all of the EMAs and SMAs. So we have support between the 100, the 200, and the 50. Ideally, it'd be fine if we touch the 100 today. In fact, I think we're going to, for the record. It might even be okay. Actually, it would be okay even if we touch the 200, because that would be a full gap close. And both of those things result in me going like, yeah, that's fine. Close the gap, and then we can move on with our lives. Because again, CoreWeave is another stock that tends to close the gaps. Now they do have like this one forever gap that I don't think we'd ever close. Famous last words. If we did, I might full port, like genuinely, for the first time in my life. I don't think we will, but if we did, that's like a real consideration. So like outside of that anomaly, I think that we might have a week or two of um, just finding the bottom, whether it's the SMAs and or the bottom of this gap, and that's fine. And by a couple of weeks, it could be today. CoreWeave has a history of moving big percentages, 10% in a day. And if we wanted to close this entire gap, we would have a minus 11% day. I wish I could say that would be the first time that's happened. Minus 16%, minus, at one point it was minus 11% here. Over here we had, like over this week, it was minus 35%. It could happen. And I'm over panicking when it comes to core. I never panicked to begin with, but I'm definitely over panicking as it relates to CoreWeave. One other thing that I keep looking at though is like this line that I see over and over and over. And if we simply land on this and pop back off, also really good. Like there was definitely this descending wedge thing going on, and this would be fine if we broke out of here, touched the bottom, and broke out of support. All of these imaginary made up lines could certainly work to our favor, and none of them give me heartburn. You did 2,600 spreads already. When? Before the drop? 16 and 1550. Well, shoot, man, you're gonna definitely make out like a bandit on the one leg. The question is, how about that other leg? When you do 2,600 of those put credit spreads, is it legitimately 2,600 of each leg? Do they have to be equal, or do you do like a mix? I wonder. I have yet to do any. I've been thinking about them, and I just can't really like convince myself that it's a great idea. Though I know you've had a lot of success with it, and I'm proud of you for that. I just sell options real simply. All right, we're about 15 minutes out. Is there anything that you all would like to look at? Yesterday, okay. All right. I'm glad you're excited. Very cool. um, just taking a look at things. Reddit is now up 1.5%. So awesome, I guess. We'll see where that goes. See if it can hold it for the day, or do we just go straight red after open? We have a clear set of defensive stocks, though, that are doing quite well. Pepsi, where I recently bought some leaps at 130. They are looking quite good. This is like both a long-term play, but also a hedge play. I fully intend to hold this through at least December. Like I could genuinely see this taking till January to play out effectively and profitably. We're seeing it in Costco, Nike, like all of these that also just got hit pretty hard yesterday anyway, are making a bit of a comeback. Adobe is kind of interesting. I'm keeping an eye on Adobe. I have not gotten back in for any swing trade potentials, but look at that. It hit off the, is that the 21 EMA? Yeah. Hit off the 21 EMA and then just bouncing back up here. See if it can break through the 200 this time. Definitely an interesting position. Netflix. All right, Mr. Lazar, Mr. Laser. Let's take a look. Netflix looks like Adobe. That's funny. Yeah, I mean it's bullish for sure. Bullish short term. We have flipped over to daily blue stars. I mean, look at what it's up from the low. Well, I guess yeah, pre-market we're up 17, 18% from our low. It definitely feels like Netflix is making the turn here. There is minor risk for one more drop to somewhere below this 68 and hit the bottom end of the channel. I'm not sure we'll hit that. Let's take a look at the monthly actually real quick. Yeah, like this could back test one more time to the bottom, but it feels like this has turned into clear support. And I really wish I had more patience on my leaps here, because I ended up selling at a loss, having gotten a little too excited over here. But the long-term support here is very clear and has held well. So looks pretty good to me, honestly. Don't worry about the other leg. Yes, it's 20. Yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you say don't worry about the other leg, but until you have to buy all the shares, and then that's kind of a big deal. Meta, yeah, let's take a look at Meta. Meta is one that I've had in like the back of my mind, but have not pursued here recently, as it is once again in a channel, and the channel looks like it's ready to break out. Now we are down pre-market at 560. I believe the lowest we could possibly go here, quotes, air quotes, big air quotes, is right over here, actually, about 550. 550. Now it's possible we hit this 537 mark. Look, if we end up hitting way down here like this, well, then I wouldn't recommend doing anything actually, because we would be breaking down out of the channel. Here's the deal, though. We have the rest of the month to see how this plays out, and any drop like right now, this is again, this is a monthly view, is totally fine. I don't have any panic looking at any of this. Would I take a position here? I would probably wait to see for confirmation. I worry that Meta's got a little bit of Microsoft in it right now. It's down 26% from all-time highs, 30% maybe actually at open. So like that's a little scary. And if we look at Microsoft as a comparison from their all-time highs, we dropped a total of 36%. So Meta could kind of do a little repeat of that, and it wouldn't be out of this world, which would put us 36%, by the way, would put us down at 500. And that's interesting too, because that lines up right here. That's 500, which has been a prior support and resistance line. Interesting. Interesting. So I would be wary about entering a position here. Now, if we close above here for the next 2 months, then I would feel very confident, or I would feel pretty confident that it's up from here, but only if we stay above this line. Otherwise, I'm hesitant. So I don't currently have a position with Meta. I have been watching it for a potential entry, and it'd be kind of wild if we back tested down to the 50, which is at 458. and nonsensical if we went all the way down to the 200 or the 100, I should say, on the monthly. So that's my current view on Meta. I don't think it would be terrible to own at this price. I would suggest if you're in it, then you could feel free to cover somewhat aggressively. I would also say, ideally above cost basis. And I would also say that if you're looking to get into it, it would be totally fine to DCA in over the next couple of months. I don't think I would take a huge immediate position here. I think I would look at this and be like, okay, uh, 10 shares, and then 10 shares next week, then 10 shares the week after until you're at like 100 or whatever, whatever your number is, whatever you're looking to get to it from a portfolio allocation standpoint. It doesn't look super strong at this exact moment, though. I think there's still potential downside. You got it. Great. You love buying dips. We all love buying dips, man. Hello, Andrew Schubart. That's a name I've seen before. Open and ons. Yeah. Let's take a look at Open. Open is one that I've been DCAing into myself, actually. My cost base is probably 370-ish with the most recent option sell, especially if it goes through. Yeah, I think there's a clear, falling knife thing going on here. I'd be careful. I think you can look at either of these wedges as yeah, risk. They held pretty true on both, and we dropped out of the wedge for sure, for sure. Let's look at the weekly. I think it can clean up maybe where we could see support though pretty easily, and that is the 200 is very clear support for multiple reasons. One, we've got former resistance here and support right between these two weekly candles. And whatever the hell happened here, I don't know. This was the ridiculous run up. Do you remember this? I think there's a lot of after hour people who were in that one. But like honestly, the business I've looked at a little bit myself, and there's some risk in here. This is a rate diversification play for me. Very small position, 3,000 shares, which is like 10 grand or whatever, which is for me not a huge percent. So I would be careful in like going too big here. There's no reason this has to go back up, and they're very sensitive to rates. So if rates go up, like forget it. It's going to be a long hold. But I think if you go to bed and wake up in 5 years, all of a sudden your money triples and you feel pretty good about the play. Right? Like I don't see. I'm not sure we're going back to IPO prices of $40 here, but feels like there's a lot of upside potential for a very maybe not discounted price because I'm not sure that's true, but again, it's slightly speculative and a hedge on rates dropping back to like zero or something crazy like that. And ONS, yeah, let's take a look at ONS. ONS has been an interesting one and has been for a while here. I'm still pretty bullish on it. It's everything here is totally normal. We're actually just sitting at on the weekly, the ADMA at open. Like that's totally fine. We tested off of yesterday. We're opening at that now. I don't have any new positions here. You could see I covered it for earnings it was only like, I don't know, 12 cents or something I sold these for, but it was 1% or close to that. Maybe that one was a little bit less actually. But I was happy to sell it at 12 if it went. I'd be like, yeah, cool. And if not, just lower the cost basis a bit. And in the meantime, if we drop here closer to 8, I'll probably sell $8 puts this week. And then I would probably sell more $7 puts next week, et cetera, et cetera. Very small positions though. Like, I only sold one or two and this is a cheap stock. I only sold a couple of contracts at these prices. But it was, I look at that as a great opportunity to average down on a stock that I want to hold this one fairly long term, with an exit target of like 15 plus, right? This is our all-time highs. And we have been in a pretty big channel here for, if you look at the monthly chart, quite some time. Well, it's kind of ugly looking all of a sudden. Maybe the weekly chart makes it look a little bit better. But yeah, this all seems pretty normal to me if you just continue to play the connect the dots game. You got it, Mr. Schubert. You have no exposure to NeoClouds. Thinking of entered APL deed. Oh, somebody, Berto Squirto, somebody read Bob Dog's post on that, didn't they? Talking about who is the most undervalued. I said I was going to pour one out for Nail in My Eye, who couldn't make it today as he's in teacher meetings. I'm sorry, my brother. But you know what? Like, you look at the chart, and let's go to the weekly here, and it seems fine to me. I know Bob is pretty bullish on them and looks at them as being undervalued compared to the rest. But let's be clear, there is a lot of resistance to overcome for APLD at this exact moment, just from like a charting perspective. Certainly, like long term, I think it's fine. I think I will continue to encourage people though to consider if you're wanting exposure to a sector, maybe you don't need to pick an individual stock. What if you picked WIGMI? What if you picked the equivalents that are, tracking the entirety of that sector? I think WIGMI is a good one. There was another one that I can't remember the name of. I think it was one of these FinX ones. FinX was for fintech, but there was one for um, there's a Global X funds for, was it Global X? I think it was for data centers, and it had Nebius, CoreWeave, Cipher, APLD, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe you take exposure in that way, right? Like, do you need to make your bet on a single equity on the hope of it going up? Unless you've got like a really strong conviction where it's like, no, 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 the market is mispricing this. They don't understand it. And when they do, heads are going to explode. Yeah, that's fine. You could do that. Definitely, you could do that. And I think it's a fine pick overall. We've got some big fans of it in the Discord. But personally, yeah, I called you out. I'm sorry. Personally, I would consider like, okay, well, what's frustrating is watching, like we talked about it earlier, right? Watching CoreWeave go down on the daily or the weekly or whatever. And for some reason, Nebius went up off of CoreWeave's earnings. What the heck? Right? And why? I don't know. I don't know who's playing favorites here. But at the same time, what did WIGMI do? WIGMI just kind of went up collectively, right? So again, these are things to think about: is how you want to gain that exposure. Do you want to try to make the best bet on the best company, or just be happy with the aggregate view of all of those businesses together? And that's kind of like my Boglehead background. So careful in following those types of plays if you're super hyper aggressive and don't want to do that. Full disclosure of where that mindset comes from. Hey, look at Reddit, almost at 2% now. Pre-market, not bad, not bad. NCLD ETF. Ah, yes, that does sound right, Foregunner. Look at that, by the way. So if you just bought NCLD at 22, you did quite well. Oh, looks like the market just opened and everything is dropping like a rock immediately. But you get the idea, right? Like, this is exposure to all of those neo clouds, and it went up. Even though CoreWeave was dropping down into their gap, this still went up. And this is a genuine thing of, I'm debating rotating a lot of my holdings from individuals into the ETFs, things like SMH, SOX, whatever. However, I will say that I'm waiting for attractive opportunities. So, like, honestly, today's not a terrible day looking at the semiconductors, SOX and SMH. Shake my head of what's going on with them, because they're approaching the 100 SMA here on the daily. That could be a good DCA point. Again, I'm not planning on putting like the full position in all at once, but yeah, I mean, that's like some tax loss harvesting type approach stuff you could do and broaden your exposure. All right, let's see, what is Reddit doing? 169, nice, not bad. All right. Well, market's open, and you guys know the deal. I tend to end around market open. I don't see anything particularly exciting to talk about except for Klarna, which is already recovering. Look at that. Maybe not. Maybe, I don't know. And at a glance, let's see. We've got SPY is, yeah, holding pretty steady with what it was doing pre-market. QQQ, same deal. IWM, BTC, yeah, everything's kind of holding pretty steady. Give things a couple of hours to see how it shakes out for the day before you start panicking. But thanks for stopping by. If you haven't already, maybe consider hitting the like button, maybe subscribing, And I do this every day, Monday to Wednesday, Friday, Monday to Friday, 7:30, no, 8:30. Dang it, I'm messing up my whole spiel. 8:30 to 9:30 Eastern. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.